Hello, I'm Adijan Ayandar and welcome to NexTech. I'm here at the Al Faya Desert in the United Arab Emirates to see how one of the driest countries in the world is using technology to tackle the climate crisis. Join me as I crisscross through this urban oasis to see how they're harnessing the sky and the ground to make the desert green again. It's hard to imagine that a landscape like this, an area so hot, so dry and bereft of any signs of life, could be just a few kilometers away from a bustling city. The sand dunes stretching to the horizon could be the set for a story on galactic betrayal taking place almost 10,000 years in the future.
I know you.
No, we're in present-day Abu Dhabi, an emirate thriving in the heart of the desert. But beneath the golden hue, there is a growing challenge: water, or a lack thereof. With a rapidly growing population, the UAE is confronting one of its toughest obstacles yet: how to provide enough water and use it in the most efficient way possible. The UAE's transformation has been nothing short of remarkable. What began as a humble trading port on the edge of the Arabian desert, known for pearl diving and its crucial location between east and west, has now evolved into a global shipping and business hub. Centuries ago, merchants from India and across the Gulf passed through these waters, building a legacy of trade that still thrives today. Only now, it's with containers and skyscrapers instead of pearls and wooden boats. But with this growth comes new challenges. Abu Dhabi's population has surged in recent decades, exploding from a small community of traders to nearly 4 million people. As more people have moved to the cities, the demand for water has surged, pushing the limits of what's possible in a place that receives less than 100 millimeters of rain annually. This clearly puts the UAE amongst one of the driest countries in the world. But can something be done to change this? Humans have always dreamed of controlling the weather. For centuries, we've prayed to gods for rain, or in places like ancient Egypt, entire rituals revolved around the hope of bringing water to the land. It's an idea that has fascinated civilizations for millennia. And it's no surprise that this theme has popped up in Hollywood as well.
First, you've got to get out and change clothes.
Right now, it's pouring rain.
Wait 5 more seconds. Right on the tick. Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Here in the UAE, government officials are taking a more practical approach. They're not trying to control the weather like in the movies, but rather trying to speed up the process. It's a solution that fits the country's needs, using technology to find balance in an environment where nature hasn't always been cooperative. And while this isn't exactly controlling the weather, it's a step towards managing it in a more predictable way, something many countries with arid climates are eager to achieve. This is the UAE's National Center of Meteorology, the control room for the country's rain enhancement program. Here, engineers, scientists, and researchers are all gathered under one roof to track, monitor, and to execute the operation side in bringing more rain to the desert. So how does it work? Well, planes release small particles into clouds, usually silver iodide, which helps water droplets form and clump together. These heavier droplets eventually fall to the ground as rain. It's not quite summoning storms on command, but it's a way to coax the skies to giving up the precious water just a little sooner than they would naturally. Through a technique known as cloud seeding, the goal is to accelerate natural processes, making rain more likely to fall over specific areas. All these resulted from years of research and development by the UAE's National Center for Meteorology. Alia Al-Mazroui, the director of the UAE's research program for rain enhancement, showed me what actually happens in the clouds.
So essentially here we have the ammunition of what you do in the forms of flares.
Yes, yeah. So as I mentioned, in the UAE, we're covering 3 components on rain enhancement activities. One of these components is manufacturing the seeding agents. And in the factory, which is overseen under the National Center of Meteorology. You can see here 3 types of flares. 2 of them are hygroscopic flares with 2 different sizes, according whether we're going to use it for aircraft or we're going to use it for the ground generator.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, here the mean of the way how we release this, it's burned for 2 to 3 minutes until it reaches the optimal size for the agent where it's effective here for the process. So we have here 48. The aircraft can take 48 flares, 24 each wing. We can use here, and depending on the situation or the conditions, we can use whether we use nano flares, or we use the other hygroscopic flares. It depends on what we need and how we can see it. So we can use both in the same aircraft, and then we decide, the operator with the pilot, according to the condition out of the observation they have there, they can decide whether using this flare or this flare.
In April, parts of the country received more than 300% of their typical yearly rainfall in just a matter of hours. Floods were triggered by unusually intense thunderstorms and fueled by a combination of high moisture and increased temperatures, leading to a perfect storm. Streets turned into rivers, homes and businesses were inundated, and nearly 24 people lost their lives. Despite the advanced infrastructure, the sheer volume of water overwhelmed the drainage systems. The government responded by deploying emergency services and humanitarian aid, but the damage to roads, properties, and livelihoods was extensive. Experts believe the intensity of these floods could be linked to the climate crisis, which is leading to more frequent and severe weather patterns across the region. I asked Alia directly about this.
As a research center, you've gathered an immense amount of data that is useful for what you do, whether it's developing the methodology or the technology. Has there been any sort of direct correlation that this may cause severe weather or lead to accelerated climate change?
Of course, this is always taken into consideration. For us, safety is number one to be considered when it comes to the operations. So first of all, we do not interfere here when it comes to the severe weathers. The simple answer for that is that you do not need to interfere in these events. It's already severe. Now the main aim, the aim of what you're doing with the operations is to enhance or to boost the rainfall amount, where you need to boost these amounts in specific areas where you really want to benefit from the rain that comes down. For example, when you recharge the underground water. So there is, strategically speaking, there's no any need to interfere in these types of events. The second thing is that we also taking into consideration the safety of the pilots, of the aircraft. This shouldn't be done during the severe weather events. You cannot be really interfering in such event when it comes to when it touches your safety here. So of course there is a stop here in this case.
So the United Arab Emirates has experience when it comes to rain enhancement that dates back to the 1990s. But in terms of the research arm of all this, the real quantum leap happened about a decade ago.
So here in the UAE, the vision of a global leadership on science and technology in this field, specifically rain enhancement, this is our main goal here in the UAE, to where we actually cover rain enhancement activities from different with three different components. So we do cover, the activities covers all components needed for this field, where you can say operating or running operations in the country and outside the country whenever needed, manufacturing, and making sure we have the right seeding agents needed for all of the operations happening, and of course taking care of all the advancement and any new technologies in this matter of manufacturing the seeding agents. And of course, the most important part is the research, where the research feeds both the first and second component, which is feeding the operations more enhanced and more effectiveness of the enhancing the effectiveness of the operations, making sure, of course, turning this research into reality, into real impact on the operations, and of course also into real impact on in manufacturing the agents, the seeding agents for that.
So you used a lot of terms, weather modification, rain enhancement, and cloud seeding. Is this all the same thing, or can they be used interchangeably?
Yeah, rain enhancement is one of the activities of weather modification. So you have hail suppression, for example, in some countries, such as Russia, for example, but here in the country, we need our needs here come into rain enhancement due to because it's an arid country. So rain enhancement is part of the weather modification activities.
The specific difference between cloud seeding and
cloud seeding, yeah, it's
rain enhancement?
Yeah. So here, when we do the operation, we use agents, seeding agents that enhance the amount of rainfall. Again, there's no any interfering here to create clouds or to do something which you don't have the conditions ready for it. So the weather conditions should be ready. Where you should have amenable clouds, the clouds that you can or seedable clouds, we can say. There are some conditions that should be there for us to interfere and to boost in terms of rainfall amount only.
But for a region that is facing water scarcity, dumping a massive amount of water isn't going to solve anything. In fact, there's more harm done than good. And where Mother Nature can't help out, technology can open new doors.
The UAE, through its rain enhancement program, is looking to push the boundaries of technology to induce more rain. The question is, once you get more water, what's next? How do you transform this vast desert country green? Well, water alone isn't enough, because the soil here isn't rich enough to support agriculture.
Desert regions like Abu Dhabi face a major obstacle: soil erosion. And in these dry areas, wind and occasional rain can easily strip away the topsoil, leaving behind barren land. Without this crucial top layer, soil loses its fertility, making it difficult for plants to grow. And to make matters worse, retaining the water is an equally daunting challenge. In the heart of Abu Dhabi, Masdar City is rising, a groundbreaking smart city designed to be sustainable and environmentally friendly. But in this desert landscape, one critical challenge still stands out: how to manage soil quality and use water efficiently to support life in this new urban environment. Efficient water use is key, especially in a place where every drop counts. Smart irrigation systems and water recycling aside, they want to ensure that water reaches plants directly, reducing waste and supporting soil health.
So Sebastian, the proof is in the pudding here.
It is. So this was developed using the LNC product, and we basically applied it as a scientific trial. We had a control area, and we also had another zone where we used the LNC, each of them about 600 square meters with exactly the same amount of shrubs, trees, etc. So we tried to make it as scientific as possible.
And what's the difference that you saw in the two control areas, or the two areas?
Well, we set it up using two independent valves for irrigation purposes, so we could monitor it ourselves through our FM team, which was important to authenticate everything that was happening. The LNC product also had ground-based sensors, so that would provide live data on soil moisture to a dashboard, which could be monitored by the teams. Ultimately, for the shrubs, which we have about within the LNC trial area, we've got about 600 square meters and we have about 75 trees. So for the shrubs, we saw about a 40% water reduction. For the trees, we saw about a 60% water reduction. The other thing that's worth mentioning, we also did the trial over a 6-month period from August, summer, which is the hottest time where the trees and foliage are using the most amount of water, through to winter where the demand drops off slightly.
What are some of the things you've learned in terms of looking at the live data?
Well, in terms of the live data, I think one of the surprising things was our shrubs were slightly overwatered. So by having the ground sensors, very quickly we realized that we needed to refine that, tone that down, which is great. I mean, that's very much about the sustainability water saving strategy. The trees, obviously, they were doing very well in terms of the amount of water, but essentially the irrigation system was providing a little bit too much water, so we were able to adjust our timings. But the great thing about the LNC is you've got that, it builds up that soil strata for the roots, you've got that improved catatonic exchange, so that's very much helping. That's probably the reason initially you saw that spike in excess water, but we're able to tone that down. So to me, the study worked very much hand in hand. It wasn't just about applying the LNC, it was about having that data and that follow through to make this as effective as possible.
This lush greenery is thanks to a groundbreaking company revolutionizing how we manage water in dry regions. Their innovation? Liquid natural clay, a sustainable solution that transforms sandy, water-repellent soil into fertile ground. That company is called Soil. But how does their technology work? Under normal conditions, only a fraction of the water is retained in the topsoil. Most of the water is lost to deep drainage. Because of the large particles, this problem is multiplied when the soil has a sandy composition. A better way to explain this is to think of a jar with large marbles that has lots of space in between them. Also, sand grains lack surface charge, which means that charged particles, like water, have nothing to stick to. LNC locks moisture in the soil, drastically reducing water loss and making every drop count. For farmers and developers in water-scarce areas, Soil offers a game-changing way to maximize growth while conserving precious resources. I spoke with the CEO of the parent group who is investing heavily in LNC and the potential this technology could have in making the desert more suitable for agriculture.
Making Earth green again, that's quite an ambitious motto.
It is, but at the same time we're confident that that's what the mission is and is an achievable one if we get everybody to work together and focus on the goal. The potential that LNC has is exactly that, which is we want to fight against climate change, degradation of soil, desertification, and we believe that this is one of the most powerful tools out there at the present to be able to do that.
So we're actually highlighting the value of water, not the cost of it, but the value of water.
Absolutely, and I think that's a really, really important point, which is that we're using this water, but we don't know what it's worth. And we are consuming water which really belongs to future generations and is not being utilized in the best possible way. Obviously, we need to feed the planet. 70% of global water, fresh water certainly, is being currently used in agriculture. A lot of it is not being used efficiently at all because we've been using technology which has been around for hundreds of years. And that fresh water supply is drying up. And we've got to do something about that. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to feed the planet the way we are.
And Abu Dhabi is actually a perfect place to test this, to implement this. Of all the things that you just mentioned, a booming tourism industry, which creates a lot of people coming in, increasing the demand for water, it's the perfect place.
It absolutely is. And the UAE is one of the world's highest per capita users of water. In fact, the entire GCC region, because of its climate and the nature of our environment. But that's also got to change. We've got to fight back against continuous desertification. We've got to get more sources of agricultural land back into the economy and find ways to feed the growing population. We've talked about, and as a group we're also invested in indoor farming, but that isn't the only solution. It is a solution, but the real solution lies in fertile soil. And the most valuable asset the planet actually has is not a highly valued tech company, it's fertile soil.
And we have this product over here.
Absolutely.
Kind of looks like a jar of coffee.
Absolutely.
And this is a diluted version of it. And then you just sort of pump it into the area that you want to apply it through the irrigation system?
Correct. Previously it was manually applied. Now we've worked it out so that it can go through an irrigation system. Classic example is golf courses. You can pump it through the irrigation system and the golf course is out of commission for all of 7 hours. The next morning, golfers can be back on the greens and going at it. It's literally that simple.
This is a private company. Obviously, it's looking after sort of financial gain. I understand the profit side, but how does it fit into sort of the country's sustainability goals?
So the UAE has got a net zero emission goal for 2050, and we as an organization with responsibility for the forests in Abu Dhabi are a very, very important player within this space to be able to make sure that our forests, our green areas, our landscapes are maintained sustainably with the least amount of water consumption. Water salinity is a major challenge. Water sources are a major challenge, fresh water availability. So it's critical that we use technologies like this to reduce our carbon footprint and contribute to the UAE's overall goal.
Just a short drive out at Soil's Operations Center, General Manager Ala Al-Qaresha wants to show me that the proof is in the pudding, and the dessert we're going to have in the desert is water.
So this is where all the magic happens, right?
Yes, exactly. So this is what we call the mobile manufacturing unit, where all of the LNC is happening. I need you to imagine it like a fire truck. When fire is out there, it goes, put the fire down, come back safe. And this is we do with lands and arid land. We send it, we put LNC, the land is fertile again, we put it back for maintenance to the next job.
So when you actually deploy this to a particular location, you'd actually take the unusable soil, pump it in here into the back?
No, not exactly. So we bring our soil mineral clays with us.
Okay.
We put it here, and the magic happens inside.
Okay.
There is a reactor, and this is where the LNC will be discharged from the back, applied through irrigation system, manual application, through sprinklers, your subsurface irrigation system, directly to your land.
So we're going to make the earth green again, one sand particle at a time. I feel like a mad scientist. Show me how this works.
So let me explain what we have on the table here. This represents our lands,
okay.
Sandy soil, arid lands.
They're both the same?
Both the same. The sand in the UAE represents 99% of the sand in the UAE are the same. We have water, and this is the thing that we are trying to save.
Okay.
And this is our LNC, the liquid natural clay.
Okay.
So what we will do, or I will let you do it.
All right.
We will pour LNC and water in these two small cups, exactly the same amount at the beginning. I will help you with the LNC.
So we pour water to the top of the cup?
To the top of the cup.
All right.
Yes.
That's good.
Fair enough. I need you to hold both of them together.
Okay.
And pour them exact the same second together.
All right. So we pour this in.
Yes.
2, 3. Oh, immediately what you see is the control water that we use is seeping down
very quickly. Because the sand particles are like marbles. There is lots of voids between them. And this is where most of the irrigation water are getting wasted.
Okay.
Because you irrigate, sandy soil is just flushed out. This is now, the magic happened where the LNC covers the particle, each grain of sand, with one thin layer or platelets of clay. giving it the characteristics of clay. So this sand will become and have the clay characteristics after the percolation.
So essentially, those big marbles become
Attached.
smaller marbles attached to each other,
Yes.
preventing the water from trickling down.
Yeah, so it's not preventing them completely. It will give the healthy characteristics of the clay, where around 25% of the clay is air.
And what are we going to be doing now?
So basically, as this clay, if you can see, it looks like Play-Doh you can play with, and this is still have the characteristics of sandy soil. It will immediately damage if you touch it.
So all the water that we've actually put in is actually trickled down to the bottom.
Yeah, so now we need to irrigate our land.
Okay,
We can fill these 2 glasses of water.
Equal amounts?
Equal amounts.
Again, we pour it. 3, 2, 1, there we go. So we're watering our plants. Put this to the side, all of again, because the untreated one, the one without the liquid natural clay, the water is going seeping down immediately. Here, the water is still kept up on the surface.
It will take time to percolate.
If you want to reverse desertification and limit the effects caused as a result of the climate crisis, the simple truth is there isn't a single silver bullet. It will take multiple technologies working side by side and over the long run to actually make a difference, to make the desert green once again. What the UAE deals with on a day-to-day basis could very soon be the reality for many parts of the world. That's why a lot of the technologies that are used to overcome these challenges are being tested here. And from what I've seen, the future doesn't look all that grim. Well, that's it for this edition of NexTech from Abu Dhabi. I'm Adi Janayannash, and we'll see you next time.